Hi, I'm Steve Barlow. This is the Humanised Workforce Future You podcast video, where we're talking about perceptions of the future, issues that we need to be aware of, and their role in a rapidly changing work and life environment.
Hi, I'm Craig Saffin. The Humanised Workforce Future You podcast series is focused on the key factors evolving to create a more humanised workforce and how people from all walks of life are creating their future selves.
Yeah, so the high performance benchmarks we were talking about, they not only take into account the critical success attributes you need to be a functional expert in the role that you're doing, but also those role benchmarks take into account the culture of the organisation. So, for example, probably one of the best examples is, most people who are listening to this podcast, they would have had it themselves or know someone that has, where they've poached a top performer from a competitor company, in whatever role it is, brought them into their own company, and they haven't quite met the expectations that they thought they would. And the reality is the job is actually no different, but the environment is different. The culture of the organisation, the management style is very different. So the attributes required to thrive in one culture versus another can be quite different, even though functionally the job is still the same. And that's why it's so important to have that capability of being able to develop benchmarks for any and every role for your organisation, not some global
it's
average.
Unique. It's not an off-the-shelf thing. It's unique. One thing I want to ask you then is, as an individual employee or someone joining an organisation or someone within an organisation, you mentioned in one of your lead-in comments about how retaining people in an organisation, just moving them into the right role and things like that. What can individuals do to accommodate all of this analysis? Because it's sort of like a lot of what you've described is and analysing an organisation, trying to position for hiring the right people and having the people in the right. What can individuals do to accommodate this sort of, I suppose, deep analysis of them and how they fit into an organisation?
Yeah, so I'll talk about it more personally, Craig.
Okay, thanks. Yeah,
that with the assessments we use is we then understand exactly what the hard wiring is of the individual. And then, when we're going through the interview process, it gives interview questions and all of that, but it also gives coaching, mentoring and training suggestions as well of how to actively manage that person so that you can help them achieve the highest success they can in that role. And that's what it's all about. We want to set people up for success, not set them up for failure. So a really good example is one of our guys and one of my key employees. When I employed him, he has a far higher energy level than I do, and he has a far higher sociability than I do. And I knew from his profile that for me to get the best out of him was that when he needed to talk to me, he needed to talk to me straight away. Now, I'm the type of person, when I'm working on something at my computer, is I don't like being interrupted. That's my hard wiring. That's the way I like to do. Yeah. But I knew to help him to achieve the highest success for him is I had to make myself available for him. So I said to him, as part of the onboarding process is, and our desks are only, a couple of meters apart, is if you need me, just turn around and ask. Now, he does that all the time. And I can tell you, every time he does it, internally, I go, oh God, I'm just in the middle of this sentence. But I put a smile on my face and turn to him, and he knows this, he'll be listening to this anyway. But it's really important. So as there's a difference between a manager and a leader. And I think the best definition I've ever heard is, when I meet a great manager, I know how important they are. When I meet a great leader, I know how important I am. And my view is that when it comes to leadership, not management, it's about the other person. It's not about yourself. And it's one of the hardest things for managers, who want to be leaders and want to be really strong leaders, is it's not about them anymore. It's about what they achieve with the people who report to them. And that's the most important thing. Your success is based on their success, not the other way around. So
Okay, that's fascinating. So I suppose what's in it for the individual and the shaping of the future you is to listen to the advice and to try and take the opportunities for professional development and personal growth, right? So
Yep.
One thing I want to ask you just before we finish up here is just a little bit of a bugbear for me, because you've been involved in psychometrics and analysis, human analytics for a long time in various guises and various job functions. And one thing that I've always been concerned about is cultural and gender bias in these things. And for a while there, it seemed that every person and his dog was developing their own psychometric. You've had a hell of a lot of experience in this space. And I wondered what areas you were concerned about, if any, about gender or cultural bias within these analytics.
I think it's a massive problem, or a massive challenge is probably better putting it than a problem. So it actually, a lot of it stems from unconscious bias. Yes. And it's the unconscious bias at the screening stage of candidates. And everybody has it. It doesn't matter how long you've been recruiting people for or selecting people for. It doesn't matter how long you've been a senior leader. Everybody has unconscious bias.
Sure.
And you can't avoid it.
It's a human thing, isn't it?
Yep. So there's a couple of things that we've done, which I'm really proud of. So in one of our assessment platforms, we have the ability for people to choose whether they're male, female, or MX, undefined, which I don't think any other assessment platform provides that ability, and all the reports that come out of the back end are non-gender based reports as well, which I think is really, really important in today.
I agree. Yeah.
Where we're going forward. The other thing that we have, which I think is quite unique, is we have the ability to provide clients with unlimited subscriptions for psychometric assessments, highly valid psychometric assessments that they can use for every applicant. So, because normally psychometric assessments aren't used until the shortlisted candidates.
Yeah, sure.
By then, all of the conscious and unconscious bias has already taken place. So if somebody, and it's not just about gender as well, it's where people live, it's the length of their surname, there's a whole lot of conscious and unconscious bias that goes on. So by assessing applicants right at the start, what we're then doing is we're screening them on fit. And so therefore it matters far less that they're not very good at resume writing. There's a lot of people, a lot of job applicants out there that aren't very good at writing a resume, and they can't afford to pay a resume writer to write their resume, which becomes a fictitious piece in itself, keeping in mind over 60% of all resumes carry blatant untruths in them. So, but by screening candidates based on fit, it then means that, and because our assessments are totally unbiased. They don't care what gender you are. They don't care what religion. They don't care where you live. They don't care where you've come from. They don't care. And so that then means that anybody that has more than a percentage fit for the role is you have to look at them seriously. Because if they have the learnable skills, knowledge, experience, required qualifications, whatever it may be, is you already know that they will be at least very good.
Okay. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thanks. That's a big change from the dark past, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it is. The world's come a long way in HR analytics, and I think one of the challenges for HR departments is for them to understand that they need to start trialing some of this new science and new processes instead of just sticking with what they've always known. And it is a real challenge for HR departments to do pilots and challenge things, because unfortunately it comes from the CEOs and MDs where HR departments get wrapped over the head when they make a mistake. And the problem is you can't have innovation unless you make mistakes. So to a large degree, CEOs and leaders of organisations need to encourage their HR department to be more innovative and creative and think outside the square, and accept that not everything's going to work.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Okay, so I might just sum up some of the things, the main points of what you've talked about for our listeners, Mark. You've given a lot of details and a lot of examples, so I'm not going to go into any of those. But The main thing that I heard you talk about was fitness for role. And that seems to be the target of what you're on about. And fitness for role relates to the attributes that people bring and what they actually want to achieve in their life, what they can bring to the company that is what the company needs. And alongside this fitness for role is the whole, seen from the other side, from the company perspective, is the bias that can creep into that. And it can be, as you said, unconscious, based on artifacts like the quality of their resume or the length of their last name. And so the goal is to, rather than focus on those things, to focus on the fitness part of it. How good a fit is this person? What do they bring? That is what we are looking for. So the whole idea of fitness and bias. And then you talked about technology, and you use technology quite a bit to identify the alignment areas, to identify where the fitness is actually occurring or not occurring. And this can be the use of psychometric tests or surveys or interviews, and even things like job ads, where you craft the ad as a piece of technology to get the result that you're looking for. And then you also talked about the time spent on people and the relationship between the development and the interest and the focus on people and the profitable outcomes of the company. And you gave a wonderful example from your own experience of the turnaround in that. So people are at the heart of the business, and yet it's oftentimes not measured. But it's the most important thing at the end of the day. And then you also talked about the development of leadership, and how this is one of the most important aspects. And oftentimes you pointed out that it's done at the senior executive level, but not at the middle management level, which is really where the rubber meets the road. It's the interaction between the rest of the workforce and their experience of leadership. And so the importance of developing leaders and their ability, and making sure that they're aligned in what they're bringing to the company as well. So I think that sums it up. But yeah, it's been very interesting, and I appreciate your contribution and all the wonderful examples you've given.
Thanks, Steve.
A lot of experience there, Mark, and thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Okay. Thanks, James.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching this video on Humanised Workforce Future You. Please leave a rating or review for the series on the medium where you source your videos.
The transcripts for today's video can be found on craigsaffin.com. Please subscribe to the series to avoid missing out on future episodes.